Okay, welcome to the third instalment in our discussion about rider asymmetry and horse asymmetry. So, what we're going to do today is put the rider and the horse together. Now, you've seen Alice and you know that Alice sits to the right, and we explained about her seat bone on the right being higher. We've looked at the horse and we've seen how the rib cage rolls to the right, and how the left shoulder is more intrusive because it's stronger and it's further back as far as the saddle is concerned. So this whole thing, or these things, are conspiring to tip the rider out the right-hand door. The horse is sliding the saddle to the right. The rider doesn't sit on the right seat bone, so she falls to the right. Everything says go to the right, which will encourage the horse to be stronger in the right hind and stronger in the left fore, because he's carrying the weight on his right hind and he will muscle diagonally across to his left fore. So we've got to try and get this load, Alice, more in the middle of the horse's back and give the horse a more even workout. And for this, we've got to do two things. We've got to compensate for the rider and we've got to compensate for the horse's asymmetry. So, rider asymmetry. We've already said that the seat bone on the right for Alice is higher. So what we are literally going to do is shim underneath her seat bone. And this is what this paddle is for. In the back of our saddles, we have a little post box, a little slot, which allows me to go from underneath the tree to on top of the tree, and this will slide on top of the tree, and it's sort of seat bone shaped, and it's going to slide in, and it's basically going to be sitting there like so. So that's the left, so it'll be there like so, underneath the seat foam, but it will effectively raise the seat foam up by about 3 millimeters. This handle is to facilitate me getting it in and out, and what you're going to see is at the end of this, we're going to whip it out and we're going to see Alice's reaction when she suddenly finds she hasn't got a 3-point seat. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in to the saddle at a 45-degree angle. I am going to push forward and I am going to wiggle it into place, or saw it into place, whichever way you want to look at it. And I am just going to make sure that the holes line up. Perfect. Okay, so now we've got the paddle in place. We won't worry about this flapper leather. We'll just leave it forward for the moment, because that way, when we're in a demonstration mode, I can pull it out whenever I need. So now for the horse, we need to adjust the flocking. So I'm not going to give you a full explanation about Flair, but basically what you've got, 2 airbags at the front, 2 airbags at the back. They overlap in the middle. What we can do is we can raise the front of the saddle until we just see it lift, and then we can play with the back until we get the rider's balance correct. And then what we will do is we will balance the saddle left to right by compensating for the horse's drop on the rib cage on the right. We will put more in the right back, and to compensate for the fact that the saddle is pulling harder into the left shoulder, we're going to put more on that left shoulder. So we diagonally flock the saddle with more flocking in the back right and the front left to basically keep that saddle sitting straight on that horse. And then, of course, the paddle to keep Alice's right seat bone up and supported. Okay, so I'm going to whip the dummy valves off of this. And it's real rocket science. The front pipe is the front bag and the back pipe is the back bag on either side. And we're just going to join the fronts together and the backs together. And then once we've done that, we can inflate the pair. Or if we clip one off, we can just inflate one bag. I'm going to put a valve on the left side, which is going to do both back bags. And I'm going to do a valve on the right side, which are going to come round, and it's going to do both front bags. Okay. So I'm going to inflate both fronts and make sure they both go up together and they are similar pressure. And then I will do both backs. We're ready. And that's both backs. Going to let it down to atmospheric pressure. So basically there's air in the saddle, but it's at the same air pressure as external to the saddle. We're not squeezing the air out, we're letting it just come out of its own accord. And then we'll trap the remaining air in that airbag. And finally, to stop the air moving from left to right, we clip off each individual bag so we have no communication between the airbags whilst the rider's riding, and also we've got control of where the air goes, so if we want to just inflate one bag. Simple as that. So if you want to see what atmospheric pressure looks like, if we lay our hands on here, I should feel like there's air or a cushion of air underneath, but I should be able to move it around, but I've still got a cushion. I've still actually got something in there. Remember, a horse's back doesn't do this with a point pressure, not unless there's something very wrong with the saddle. And your horse's back is going to be laying flat over this and hopefully distributing the weight evenly front to back. So now we've got the saddle on the horse, Alice on the saddle, we can start adjusting. So I'm just going to first of all make sure I've got enough lift in the front of the saddle. So I'm going to be looking in here and I am going to be looking for the saddle to lift. If the saddle lifts, I know there's no more room under the saddle, and therefore the saddle must be touching all of the horse. 1, 2. Yeah, that lifted. 3. You just have to time it so that you don't have the horse heaving breath and you think that it's that's actually picking up the saddle. Okay, so now I've got the front adjusted, we're going to go for a little walk and we're going to adjust the back of the saddle and get it right at walk. But I assure you, as soon as we get it right at walk, as soon as you trot, it's going to hit you up the backside a bit because he'll be more elevated in his back in trot than he will be in walk. But just get used to him in walk.
Oh, he has got a big walk.
He's got an enormous walk. And you feeling like you're sitting a bit in the back of the saddle at the moment, don't you?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So the left side does both back bags. So now, if you watch here, you'll just see it start to lift. Here we go. Now I've put a lot in there and I've elevated her quite a lot. Now we'll see how the horse walks, and I bet you he'll walk shorter now. Good reaction. You see what effectively we've done by raising you up. Got more pressure behind the shoulder. You can see he's not willing to walk forward even, is he?
No, he's actually very not.
So I'm going to take a bit out. So 1, 1002, 4, 1005. Because I did put a lot there in there. And it doesn't matter how much I put in or how much I take out. It's more a case of when it's right, the horse will tell us. I'm going to get you right. 1, 2, 3. There you go again. I'm going to come here, I'm going to undo those two clips, and I'm just going to take a fraction out. Right. Okay. Okay, so here we see them on the right rein, and you'll see a much better bend through the body and the neck. There is some erratic head movement, and we'll come to that in a minute, but basically he's bending through from tail to pole, but the contact is erratic, especially when the rider starts to ask for more bend round the corner. And he basically just doesn't look like he's quite got the rhythm or the power that we would actually really like to see. Okay, so if we watch Alice approach this corner, you'll see she raises her inside hand, as she should do, and tries to open it, but the horse will cock its head and start to resist. And you will see an overreaction about halfway around the corner. He's going to bring his pole to the inside and bend at the base of the neck, but not give through the rib cage. And he's actually going to tilt his head and give us a false bend. He's going to basically stick his nose to the right and his ears to the left, and he's just basically not giving at all through the body. Okay, so we've seen that Alice was struggling on the left rein to really get a true bend around her inside leg, whereas the right was actually easier for her. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put a bit more in the back right and in the front left, which will basically take up the difference in that rib cage dropping to the right, and the front left actually effectively pulls the saddle across to the left, because the saddle is obviously wanting to slide to the right. So I'm going to put this one goes round to the back right, and I'm going to put 1, 2 pumps in there, and here I'm going to put this goes round to the left front, 1 and a half. Now, put your leg on now. Ah, look at that. Right, and forward. Can you feel how much he bends around your inside leg now? Keep going. Yeah? And you got that sort of energy button now, haven't you? And he's nicely wrapped around your inside leg. Just try the other rein. Right, ride that corner, and that's lovely. Go on. Now you've got bend, haven't you, both ways?
Yeah. I'm not fighting if I like.
Yeah. And you've suddenly got a horse that's easy to ride. Okay, so we're going to do a little experiment now. We're going to whip that paddle out from underneath the saddle, and we're going to see how it affects Alice, because remember, that's her seat bone raiser. So here's the paddle sticking out the back of the saddle. So if you just sort of stand up in the stirrups. Okie dokie. So there we go. Away you go. Try and see if you can feel any difference now. Okay. He's noticed the difference, hasn't he? Right, try and trot now. So you've suddenly dropped your weight to the right now, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Are you more conscious of your left thigh against the saddle?
Yeah, I'm actually getting a bit cramped in my left thigh.
And he's gone all sort of crabby now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He doesn't like you being there. And he's sort of, well, that's not where my rucksack was. You've not got the control or the fluidity that you had before, have you?
No.
And he looks all sort of choppy. Doesn't look floaty anymore. Has that neck gone rigid as well?
Yeah, it's really heavy in my right hand.
Yeah. Okay, try the left rein. It's all right. Because he's not comfortable. Go on. He just did a beautiful shoulder four down there with real energy. Now you can't. Now you're working like Billy-O, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully that's shown you how effective balancing the rider is. You're working so hard on top of that horse to try and get it working, and all you actually need to do is distribute the weight more centrally.